LCTR here, and it's time we look at another new game, at least for this channel. As actually, Hunt Showdown has been around since 2019, but rather than being on the wane, it's actually in some of the rudest health it's been since launch. So let's take a look at Hunt Showdown in 2021 and ask, is it worth playing? And before we get into the video, in my normal full disclosure way, I want to say that the developers of Hunt Showdown gave me access to the game, and were actually good enough to give me 2 codes upon request, so I could actually play with a friend too, all via Steam, and for the purposes of making videos just like this one. So what exactly is Hunt Showdown? Well, from the outset, it looks kind of Battle Royale-y, but it really isn't. Yes, you spawn in a map with other teams, but there's a real PvE element to go along with the PvP. There's no storm or zone that you need to be in. If you wanted to leave the match immediately, then you could simply head to one of the exits. There'd be little point of doing so, though. You get the notion that this isn't a game that follows the established styles of design from the past few years. You and your team are hunting initially for clues. They can be located using your dark sight, a kind of otherworldly power that allows you to divine their rough heading. These clues are often situated in notable locations around the map. Abandoned, derelict buildings, which to a one look like they all smell pretty terrible. Upon finding the 3 clues, you're told of the location of a bounty, basically a boss that you can kill for rewards. These are the top tier of the PvE part of this world. The bosses themselves, much like the visual design of the whole world, look particularly horrendous, and I mean that in a complimentary way. The Butcher is a lumbering, fire-retardant meat sponge. The Spider, a genuinely terrifying, scuttling nightmare, and, well, you get the idea. After seeing these bosses in passing a while back, when the game first released, I knew that I'd need to play with friends to get anywhere near this sodden, sweaty hellhole. So you vanquish the boss, but you're not quite done yet. You must perform the banishing ritual. This takes around 5 minutes, and if you haven't bumped into any other players up until now, then your odds just went up significantly. The banishing process is broadcast to all the other players in the server, as well as being added to their map and being visible through their dark sight. You only get credit for killing a boss if you carry the bounty to an extraction point. You can only do that after the banishing is finished. So you're stuck on the lookout while all manner of spooky noises are conjured around you. It's a neat mechanic. It's an incentive for other players to go to your position, but it isn't enforced like a BR might use a storm or something. But to counter that, you don't have to start the banishing immediately after killing a boss. If you wanted to hunt out other players first, or perhaps spend some time preparing for their arrival, then you're free to do that too. Once the bounty's picked up, you are visible with large lightning strikes when other players use their dark sight again. But you're also given a few short seconds of near-range wall hacks to use as you please. If you didn't come into contact with any other players during that banishing 5 minutes, then you might want to spend a second of those, seeing if people have set up an ambush. You want to take care, after all. Character death is permanent in this game. Oh, I probably should have mentioned that to you before. And just a quick aside to say, if you are enjoying this video, please do tap the thumb up button. Helps me out with YouTube and discoverability and all stuff like that. And you tap that subscribe button right now as well, then that is appreciated too. Thank you so much. If there's one thing that Hunt Showdown brings to the genre of PvPvE games, it's the focus on sound as a core pillar of gameplay design. It's not just about immersion, it sets the tone, for sure, but it also acts as a nice dampener on the pace. Almost everything in this game makes a noise, and that noise travels a significant range. Branches on the ground crack if you walk over them, broken glass crunches and splinters, birds noisily take flight, and hanging chains jangle and clack if you bump into them. Each and every one of these gives away your position to a would-be enemy, or maybe just aggroes some nearby monsters. This isn't your run-and-gun title. Think more Escape from Tarkov than Apex Legends. This slower pace also fuels tension. Stopping to listen to other players, being unsure if you heard something or not, it gives moments of calm and sets a cadence for the experience of playing Hunt Showdown. Choosing what sounds to make is at the core of this game. Perhaps you want to take a silenced weapon to deal with the lower order monsters from a distance, or going close with a knife and keep all your weapon choices tailored to engaging other players in this ammo-scarce world. Oh, and before we just leave this audio topic, I must also say that if the main menu doesn't make you bob your head, then you might need your ears looking at. The PvP in Hunt also feels unique. We've had games where we've stalked enemies just by following the noise of gunfire and then ambushed them, or been trapped in a building complex when we realized that we were the ones being stalked. I've had experiences playing Hunt that I haven't had in recent gaming times for sure. As one of my friends put it, he's the guy called Inferno in the footage, it reminded him of PvP in DayZ actually, and I'd certainly agree with that. It can be more drawn out and lengthy. Engagements might not initially wipe one of the teams like you might find in a Battle Royale title. The character permadeath means that people are certainly more hesitant just to barrel into a situation and see how it turns out. The time to kill can feel a little inconsistent at times though. Longer range battles certainly tend to have longer engagement times. There's some poking of health, healing, re-healing, perhaps even picking up a downed teammate. But on the other hand, I've also died instantly to shotguns at close range. The more chess-like, longer battles certainly fit the game's style better. Those insta-deaths to shotguns don't feel particularly great. It's one thing losing a firefight, but another when you didn't know that you were in danger until the screen goes black, and you really don't know what to do better next time. The graphics are also a refreshing change to other games of recent times. The location and timeline alone are novel choices, centering on Louisiana in the 1890s. This of course sets the scene for the bayou landscapes and era-specific weapons in the way that most modern titles, except maybe Red Dead Redemption 2, care to visit. I can see the environment being something of a polarizing choice, certainly a very specific taste, but the quality of what's been made isn't up to question. This is a beautifully crafted world. Both the current maps have a level of set dressing and art detail that most open world games could only dream of. There's none of the cookie-cutter buildings that you might find in other titles. Each one feels a part of the world, and some of the partially destroyed examples have some great environmental storytelling. CryEngine is long storied as being a tool that can be used to create great graphical fidelity, and so we find in Hunt Showdown 2. Textures crisp, lighting believable, and the dense, dark, sodden, run-down world feels every inch as menacing as you might hope. Performance is good too. Even on my old 970 it was totally playable, which, if I'm honest, was something of a surprise. With my new 3070 at 1440p, it sits comfortably in that high refresh monitor territory. Anecdotally, and something of a side thought, when the title first launched, I seem to recall watching streams of people play the game, and it didn't seem to run anywhere near as well. My memory is also of something of a more contrasty style of lighting, really searing patches of light and then really inky black shadows. I'm not saying the lighting of the game today is bad, not at all. I'm just wondering if the increased performance might have happened in unison with those evolving lighting choices. Certainly in a competitive environment, I'm sure most players would prefer higher performance over the last edge of visual finery, a bit like RTX ray tracing in Battlefield 5. You might have it on for the single player, but for the multiplayer, well, we all want those frames, don't we? If there's one area of the game that I'd like to see a rework, it's the main menu interface. Feels like it has something of the free-to-play about it. There's just so much going on. I have a number of hours in the game now, and I know how to get another free hunter when mine dies, which happens quite a lot. Then I equip the weapons I like, and a medicine kit, but beyond that, the interface just feels like a rabbit warren to me. There's a store, but it's not just for skins, it's for weapons, but those aren't the real money ones. But also, I don't seem to be able to equip all the weapons that I want, because I need to unlock them. But there's also an inventory, and it just seems convoluted to equip the stuff that I actually want. I'm sure I could learn all the quirks, but when you're playing with friends and they're waiting to play, the main feeling I can recall having is, okay, this'll just do, let's just play, I don't have time to figure all this out. If I asked you how Hunt Showdown was doing on Steam, then I'd be pretty surprised if you could guess with any real accuracy. It seems to be one of those titles that quietly has just been gaining in popularity over time. Weekday peaks are currently around the 16,000 player mark, which for a paid title coming up on 3 years after release seems really quite impressive. Some recent events and free weekends seem to push it significantly higher too. From my experience, waiting for games isn't much of a hassle unless you're targeting a region in an off time, but also the servers are a max of 12 players. It's not like you're waiting for some huge server to load everyone in either. So, is it worth playing? Hunt Showdown is a game that offers so much to people who enjoy the unique facets that it brings to the table, notably the slower pacing and tension that so many other titles bypass on their search for frenetic, no downtime gameplay. This is a game of confident choices. The style, the location, the time frame, and the player numbers look like those choices resonate with a decent base of people. If you're looking for something a little bit more escape from Tarkov in design choice, then Hunt Showdown might just be for you. Whether I play the game, someone who normally doesn't gel with scarier or tense titles, is really contingent on whether I have friends to play with. I'm just not going to play solo, that is, queuing on my own into teams of other people or being placed in other people's teams. The character permadeath means that it does stop the sort of casual throwaway feeling that you might have when you just want to play a few rounds. Yes, I could have a character that I only use with random people. Somehow that feels like it's not the same experience that I do enjoy with friends. And yes, for someone who would thought that they wouldn't really like a game set on the scarier or horror side, I really do enjoy playing what feels like a unique game set in a unique world. Wrapped up in all this is pricing, of course. Currently, Hunt is £35.99 in the UK, $39.99 in the US. There are some bundles currently active at the moment that come with DLC, that's cosmetics to look cool, not direct power scaling. And those knock about 25 to 30% off that headline figure. But either way, this isn't AAA pricing, but it's also certainly not cheap. For a game that, for me at least, I feel I need friends to play with, that certainly feels like it's on the high side. Again, like so many other titles that feel better to play with friends, I'd love to see the developers add a 3 license option to purchase with a discount so people could play with their buddies. It's in Steam sales too, and like I mentioned, there are some open weekends. That'd be a good time to cajole your friends into trying the game out and seeing if it strikes a chord with you. This game has so much to offer, but its bold design choices do mean that it narrows the appeal that it might have to some people. So pricing the game to play to some of those strengths would seem like a good idea to me. What do you think of Hunt Showdown? Have you seen it before? Played it a bunch? Have you got some tips to drop me? Want to tell me that my aim is bad? Let me know all your powerful thoughts and feelings by leaving a comment below right now. Like always, I'll be reading every single one of them. If you enjoyed the video, please ensure that you're subscribed and you've enabled notifications so that you know when the next video is fresh out the oven. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.